Hey everybody, Sci-Fi Fan here, and today I want to talk to you about Marathon. So Marathon is a PvPvE extraction shooter that was released by Bungie back in March, and since its release, I've put over 200 hours into the game. But recently, I quit playing altogether, and for a couple of different reasons that I want to talk to you a little bit about today. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I was completely addicted to Marathon when it released back in March. Like I am talking about, I was playing probably every day for 5 to 6 hours a day. At night I'd put the kiddo down to bed. My wife would go to bed, and I would be playing until about 2 in the morning. I was tired for weeks on end because I was playing so much Marathon. I've always been a huge Bungie fan. I've put thousands of hours into Destiny 2 over the last decade. And so when I heard that they were releasing a PvPvE extraction shooter, the art style really kind of made me interested in the game, along with the lore surrounding the game. It just seemed like a good game to try out. And so the server slam happened right before its release, probably about 2 weeks before its release. They had a big server slam, and I put over probably 24 hours into the server slam over just the course of that one weekend. And that is how I knew that I was going to love the game. And so I bought the deluxe version, which was like, I believe, like $60 or something like that. Came with a couple of different cosmetics and some other stuff. But anyways, I was jacked for this game, and I played the Everlasting Daylights out of this game for about 2 months straight. I didn't really have any other friends to play with for the game. I convinced one friend to play it, but he was kind of busy for a while there, and so he only played it with me a couple hours here or a couple hours there. So for the majority of my playtime, I was playing solo, either a solo queue or queuing up with random teammates. Um, and then, season one felt really good. So the PvP for season one felt good. The gunplay was good. Everyone was on equal footing, more or less, in reaching the same loot milestones as each other. So, for example, if you all started on week one, you were all going to the same points of interest to advance your faction missions. And that was kind of the areas where the hot zones where these gunfights would happen, right? And everybody was reaching more or less on the same footing. We were all sort of learning the game. We were getting blue shields at the same time as each other. We were getting gold shields at the same time as each other. It felt good, right? And then Cryo Archive came along, and Cryo Archive is sort of this raid that Bungie put into the game, where you go into the Marathon ship and you're going through all these vaults and trying to extract with some really good gear. And there's all sort of like these different dungeon mechanics. And that was a lot of fun. But it sort of threw the loot economy a little bit out of whack as more coordinated teams were able to extract more easily and get better loot. There was also a couple of exploits within Cryo Archive that made the game less fun. Like, for example, there were times when I would run into teams of, so like an average team for this game is like 3 people, right? You pick 3 characters and you're all on the same team, and the characters' abilities, they sort of benefit each other, right? And at times you would have entire teams teaming up against each other to go and basically run ramshackle over other teams. So at some points in time, you would run into a team of like 6 when there should have only been a team of 3. And that thing kind of made things less fun, but it wasn't really that bad. I still kind of powered through and really played, a lot of the PvP for season one. And I got to the point where I was able to do almost everything the game had to offer except for the compiler, which was the hardest mechanic in the game. It's the end boss for the dungeon on the Marathon ship. But I was able to unlock, all of the Steam achievements for the game, and really it just felt good, right? But then season 2 came along, and season 2 is where I stopped playing after the 200 hours. Like, I think I put maybe 10 hours into season 2, and then I was like, all right, I'm out. And what happened with season 2 was there was a couple of things that made the game less fun, I would say. So there was the new cradle mechanic, which the cradle was sort of this upgrade tree, where you can basically destroy loot that you find in the game And when you destroy the loot is turned into points that you can use in this cradle system to upgrade different abilities. So like if I want to run faster, or if I want my melee to work better, I can put points into this upgrade system. And the higher tier loot that you destroy or turn into data is the more points you get for the upgrade tree. However, when you combine this with a couple of other mechanics in the game, it really threw things out of whack and made it so that there was quite a bit of a skill gap, I would say. So that if you were a casual player, you were just getting your butt kicked all day long by people who are more experienced or people who are playing the game more. For example, there was this new game mode called Sponsored Survival, which was supposed to appeal more to the casual audience. It was a PvE mode that they were trying out to try to get more players to come to the game because they were starting to experience, lower numbers of continuous players. But what the Sponsored Survival was basically you'd load in with your team, you'd fight robots, and you could extract with gear and do missions. And it really allowed some of these more coordinated teams to just farm this game mode for better and better gear. And then you would farm this game mode for better and better gear, and then you would just instantly destroy all this awesome loot that you found in order to get more points for your upgrade tree, for your Kratos system. And so that basically made it to where you would have people with fully maxed out Kratos mechanic systems where they had, they had the most stamina, the most heat regeneration, or stamina. They had the best melee possible. They had all these awesome perks, right, that were traditionally in season 1 tied to the faction upgrade system. And it just made it so like if you weren't literally playing this game mode all the time and just farming this stuff, and if you were just a casual player who was coming in and playing for a few hours each day, you were just getting your butt kicked constantly in every single game mode. And it just was not fun anymore. And that's kind of what I experienced. Like I kind of fell off and, I was taking a little bit of a break. Work got busy, family life got busy. I wasn't able to play as much as I used to. And then I'd come in and all of a sudden, me and my team of blue shields or white shields or green shields, all of a sudden would be facing people, fully coordinated teams with, gold gear and gold shields. And, they say that, it shouldn't matter, right? If you're skillful enough, you can take out somebody with a gold shield. But the simple matter of the fact is if I'm going up against somebody with a gold shield and gold guns and gold gear, they're much more likely to kill me than I am to kill them unless I somehow get the jump on them. And so between this new cradle mechanic and the new Sponsored Survival, it just sort of ruined the loot economy in my opinion. And so that's why I quit after 200 hours. I kind of came to the decision that I'll wait until season 3 comes out. For season 3, they've been talking about doing more PvE type mechanics, making things a little bit less sweaty. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what they bring in season 3. They're coming out with a mid-season update here. It should be coming out either today or tomorrow, I believe. I think it's July 21st. And with this PvE mode, basically you'll be able to load in with your team into Cryo Archive and go and try to fight and go through these vaults to get better gear. But the gear, I believe, is going to be just segregated or sequestered to this game mode. It's not going to be gear that you're able to bring over with you into the actual PvP mode. And so theoretically, this should make things a little bit more balanced and a little less sweaty. However, there's going to be like roguelike mechanics. So you'll be able to go in and then the gear that you find, you'll be able to take that gear and basically upgrade your kit for the next PvE mode that you go into for the next Cryo Archive mode. And this is sort of one of their first experimental game types for PvE. However, I really don't know if it's going to work as well as they think it will. They're trying to make this more of a PvE type game when it was completely built around being a PvP VE game to begin with. And I just don't know how well it's going to work. They're sort of trying to change the underlying formula for Marathon to try to get more and more players to come back. However, I think the ship has sailed on that. There's only 5,000 to 7,000 concurrent players, depending on the day of the week right now anyways. I think they're kind of just throwing Hail Marys and throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what can stick. And I really don't know if it's going to do a lot to bring players back. I'll be sure to jump back in and check out the new game mode here within the next week. Maybe I'll do a video on it. Maybe I won't. But anyways, yeah, that's why I quit Marathon after 200 hours. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.